Well guys, welcome back to the channel. Now it's obviously been a minute since we put up a whole lot of content, so today we're going to go over why and what we've been doing instead. Now this is obviously still a driveway video. We're not out on a camping trip or anything, but this being a driveway video is probably the biggest reason we haven't put out content lately. For those of you that follow us on Instagram, I'm sure you've already seen, but this is a new to us driveway, whole new property. We got moved in December of 2025, and the process leading up to that is what has taken up pretty much all of our time. We started in earnest in getting our old property ready to sell in basically the summer of 2024. And being here in Oregon, the summers are the best time to do any kind of outside work. So we're pretty much limited to, late spring to early fall for getting any real kind of projects done. So we did that in 2024 and continued that in 2025. We finally had our property up for sale and put an offer in on this place in August of 25. And the selling and buying process between the two properties wasn't finished until this last December of 2025. And for anyone that's been through that process, you know that there is a ton of time and money and effort into making it all happen. And the process of selling ours is what really drug things out. Again, it was from August when we put in the offer here until December when we finalized and were actually able to move in just before Christmas. So that was kind of our whole world for a couple of years here. We got out here and there. I dropped a video, I think it was in December or January, of an adventure that I did. It was May of 25, so things were really delayed, but it was all, that was a fly, but it's all worth it in the end. We are out here now. We've got just 10 acres. I won't get into specifics on location, but we're in the foothills of the Oregon Coast Range, so north and west of where we were previously in the Willamette Valley, and overall, we couldn't be happier to be here. And part of the reason for being out here and getting this type of property, we are going to lean kind of heavily into the self-sufficiency and kind of homesteading type of lifestyle. We may integrate some of that content into the channel as well. We'd like to. I'm terrible at filming that kind of stuff, just general projects and everything, because I like to just dive in and do it and get it done. But we'll see how that goes. That is part of the goal. And so when we first got moved in, there's a lot of that focus and just getting settled and new things and kind of getting squared away. And then, so we had a couple months of pretty normal life. And then in March, some friends of ours offered us their cows. They are mini Highland Hereford mixes. It's a mom, dad, and baby. And, they were looking at changing their property use to going all in on horses, and they just didn't have enough room for the horses and the cows. And we had the room, but we had no facilities, no real fencing, and we had a good pasture area, but nothing set up with like infrastructure. So that pretty much encompassed March of this year. I got fencing and gates built, and an area set up for them, a shelter. So that was pretty much a month of weekends of work to get that going on top of other things that we were doing. And we'll take a tour here in a little bit, and we'll show you some of the property and some of the highlights. But and since then, these 3 months after that has pretty well kind of revolved around that, kind of getting our routines down, getting storage for hay, feeders and waterers and that kind of thing. And we also bought a side-by-side to help support that, moving hay down to their area and getting them fed and just moving equipment around the property. You don't realize just how big things can be until you're trying to lug tools back and forth while you're building a fence without a good way to get it down to a wet field that the C10 gets stuck in pretty much every time we head out into the grass. So that was a big expense, but very a necessary one to help support what we're doing out here. So it's been a good process, but that has kept us 100% busy here in 2026. I got out for Donald's Soft-Roading the West Patreon events. That's about, other than a couple random camping trips, that's about all we've done for getting out. So it's not been a lot of getting out into the outdoors, but living out here, we're well into the country. I've got I'll probably show you in here a little bit, but this way I've got a 500-foot gravel driveway, a quarter-mile of gravel road before we hit the paved road that we live off of. So there's just been a lot less need to get out when you're out here in the quiet. So it's kind of changed priorities to some extent. Not that we're going to stop going out and overlanding and camping and all of that by any means, but there's just a lot less push to need to get away from where we live. It's just a much more pleasant experience. We've got a couple of great neighbors that are, you know, within viewing distance but still far away. And we're surrounded, there's still one lot on the side of us that is empty, there's no house on. We've got a great mix of pasture and woods, and again, I'll give you guys a little tour of that here as we go. So, but anyway, so we're looking to hopefully get back on track with the camping, at least semi-regular content out to the channel. It's been very, very sparse, I know, but we will be getting back into that. Also, along with just the property and getting one place ready to sell and buying this and getting things in place here, we've had, you know, some deaths in the family on Nicole's side. So we've lost 3 family members in these last 2 years, a dog and a cat. So it's been a little rough here in places. Just a lot of other things to deal with, a lot of driving back and forth for family issues. So that has played into our absence here as well, of course, and as it should. You know, we're not going to prioritize this kind of stuff over family and real life. And now our rigs, which we've got lined up here, not a lot has changed. I still desperately want to get the C10 out for a camping trip. I really want to get the locker installed before I do that, just for a little bit of added peace of mind, probably as much as anything on my part. But he's getting really close. We've got him running really good, reliable. I need to do front brakes, and I really want to get the locker installed, like I said, before I take him out. I am planning on doing a solo trip in the first part of September, maybe, but probably not, but we'll see. It'd be a fun video to make. I've been wanting to do that for pretty much these last 2 years that we've been busy with other things. So we'll see about Scotty, but he's doing really good. He hauls hay for us about every other week to feed the cows. And we've just been putting in a lot of work with him with the move and everything too. So still invaluable. Love the truck. That won't be going anywhere probably ever. The Yukon, of course, what we kind of made our name with. Other than the clear coat getting really, really rough up front here, he's been doing really good. This is what I've taken to Donald's Patreon events, and when I went solo as well last year. So he's doing good. I will be doing a video, at least I'm going to start filming fairly soon. I'm going to be redoing the sleeping platform, and I posted some preview stuff on Instagram about that. The drawer in the back is going to be going away. I'm going to lower the thing down, and I'll show you a little bit of footage here in a sec. Just to get more headroom. That's been my only real complaint. Everything's been working really good, but we're going to drop the platform down. I'm going to do pack outs in the very back for some vertical storage instead of the drawer underneath the platform. And then our battery, and we'll have some storage. I'm going to remove the center captain's chair seats, and so I'll have storage underneath the platform, and I'll have some lids and stuff for that. So that'll be kind of a longer process, but I've got the new legs, the shorter legs for the main platform, and I've just got some details to work out as to you know, just logistics and how everything is going to get attached and all that. So I'll be filming that as I go, and then probably just do a video on that once it's all together. I can walk you through the finished product. Other than that, you know, I had done the winch install. I had gotten it in place, and the tray built and the bumper cut out. I had never finished even bolting it down or wiring it. So we're bolted down now. The control box is mounted permanently, and I just need to hook up the disconnect switch under the hood and wrap up the wiring there, and we'll actually be finally functional on that. Other than that, he's just been trucking along and putting in a lot of moving type work and being a substitute daily driver if the Jeep goes down for any reason. And with the Jeep, basically no changes to Atlas. He has been our daily driver since our Camry got totaled. We decided to not replace the Camry with another just daily driver type vehicle And that happened right before we moved. It happened in November. So right before we moved, we decided it made more sense just to hang on to the cash, you know, and not buy another vehicle, save some insurance and all of that. So, but he's been doing great. His setup really hasn't changed. We've been using that inflatable, it's an air mattress in the back to sleep on. And I do want to change that to the deep sleep mattresses still. The pure air is just not that comfortable to either myself or Nicole. But other than that, that's probably about the only thing we're really going to change. He's had some maintenance done. Just put in the metal cloak ball joints. I've got a tie rod to put in it. Just replaced the radiator for the second time because aftermarket radiators apparently are absolute garbage these days. But other than that, yeah, daily driver has been doing really good. And can't wait to get him actually back out on some trails. It would be really nice to get back out into the desert with him. All right, and this is what the back of the Yukon looks like right now. Pretty much pure chaos. I've just been in kind of taking things apart, putting things together, seeing how things are going to attach, and what pieces I'm going to need to buy to do all of that. So, but I've got the pack out bases, basically where they're going to sit. They're not bolted down or anything. I'm going to be using rib nuts through the floor to attach. I'm probably going to take out the carpet and padding back where they are. So that's going. The main box where the drawer is currently, that's all going to stay together as it is. And then up front, what was our closet module, if you've watched my build videos on the whole thing, the part that used to flip up and I keep clothes in, for right now I've just cut it in half. And this is basically how it's going to sit. Again, from these 8-inch legs, we're going down to 2 to gain our headroom back. And then storage that's been under here in the drawer is going to go into pack outs in the back vertically. And then we'll have space where the seats currently are. And with 2-inch legs and then 1 inch on the frame top and bottom, that gives me 4 inches from the floor compared to if I just ran a platform directly on the floor to cover this area. So I've been getting things mocked up for legs and supports. So there's this on each side of the fridge. And so just getting things mocked out space-wise. So I think this will be fun. We'll be very happy to have the headroom back. And I think storage-wise, it'll work out at least as good, if not better. Gonna have to do some rearranging with the battery and electronics, rerouting some wires, but that's no big deal. That should fit really nice. So this is kind of the only big project on any of the rigs right now that we're doing. And one trade-off we had to make in our price range with getting the amount of land that we did was it didn't have a lot of outbuildings. We had a couple of sheds over here, the shed by the carport, and then we've added the little hay barn, and then this soft-sided shed where this is our daughter's Camry. Had to do some work on it for her, but this is going to hold all the crap from our storage unit that's still in Lebanon, and that's going to be hopefully done actually next weekend. So we have to make some kind of temporary spaces in the meantime while we make our long-term plans. But this one next to it is a little woodshed that's holding a lot of cardboard and crap because we don't have recycling out here. And then a little garden shed at the end. This is pretty much lawn space. Over here, put a little fire pit in, our little picnic table, and front porch on the house. All right, so this whole pasture, all the fencing here is what I had to put back together. It's probably hard to see, but it goes back to the basically the tree line there, and right behind the shelter that we put up as well. That little building is our well pump house. We've got, let me zoom in, got a little greenhouse project going there that's kind of been stalled out for the last few months, but we will get back to that, I'm sure. But here are the cows. So we've got Mommy Martha, the dad is Quigley, and he was turned into a steer just before we got him. So this little family is what we're going to end up with here. No more babies. but they are pretty fun. And that is baby Luna. She was born there at the beginning of March. And she is growing like crazy. She's got little horns coming in. It's going to be a ton of fun. And there's Martha. Alright, let's take you for a little drive around the property. We'll show you some of the backwoods section as well. Where we've got cleared out behind me was a whole bunch of Scotch broom. That is a nightmare to deal with. And then right here is where we've got some targets set up. We've got that nice hill that we just kind of drove down on the trail. So that's where I've been doing some target practice, and I can actually get some shooting in on our own property, which is pretty fantastic. We don't have to drive out to BLM land or anything. So it's been a huge, awesome thing that I've been really enjoying. And if we swing it around, this giant oak is pretty much Nicole's favorite tree on the property. And this whole clearing is it's one of the really cool spots here on the property. This is our east fence line here. We're coming up towards the south side, south corner of the property. All right, guys, so that's just a little bit of insight as to what's been going on with us and where we've been. Still here, got plans on more to come, and we'll see you again for the next adventure.